everyone, and welcome to the Indie Author Life Show, a space dedicated to sharing the unique stories of authors and creatives within the self-publishing space. My name is MG Hunt, and today I am here with a wonderful indie author, Demi Clorissa, and we're here to chat
Hi.
all about her wonderful writing life. Thank you, thank you,
Yes,
thank you so much, Demi, for being on the show today.
that's okay. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to talk about all things writing. It's like my favorite thing to talk about, to be quite honest.
I cannot wait to get into some of the stuff in your life because as we were talking about just before
Yeah,
we press record, you are writing full time at this current
yes,
stage.
I am. Yes, very luckily writing
Yeah,
full time. Yeah.
absolutely. But it's something I think that I've talked to when I talk to a lot of authors, like that's a big aspiration that they would like
Yeah,
to achieve and you're doing it.
yeah, especially indie authors. I think indie authors don't think that it's an option.
Hmm.
I'm very lucky in the sense that my husband, well, I moved to Malaysia. That's
Yep,
probably where the first, I should start with that. I don't live in
let's do
Australia, I
it.
live in Malaysia.
Yep.
And so like I'm very lucky with my husband that he believed in me, that he
Yeah.
was like, well, we're moving to Malaysia for 3 years. I want you to write for full time for 3 years and see what it can come out of. Because I have been writing essentially full time when I was living in Australia. So
Yep.
I worked as a mental health, adolescent mental health nurse,
Yep.
and I did 12-hour shifts. So I would only work like 3 days a week anyway. Every other day I'd write. So it was like a really big balancing act of between like working with some of the most complex young people in the state of Queensland,
Mm.
and trying to write these really heavy, emotionally heavy books. So I was like, oh, and he could see where I was like really torn.
Mm.
And yeah, very luckily he got offered a job over here in Malaysia. So he was like, how about you give it a go? 3 years. If it doesn't work, you can go back. And I love nursing. Like nursing is in my heart. So like
Yeah.
I never wanted to ever really leave nursing, to be quite
Yeah.
honest.
Yep.
And so he was like, give it 3 years, see how you go, and
Yep.
kind of just like go from there and see if you can make it like a actual feasible thing. Because obviously we need to live and we need to have money for that. And I
Yeah.
think access and kind of being an indie author is where we think about how our business as authors, our
Yeah.
business is like going to
Hmm.
fund our lives. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, very lucky.
Very lucky, but you've worked hard for it as well because,
Yeah,
you've put yourself out there, established
yeah,
your um, author career before you made the jump to going
yeah,
to full-time writing and
yeah,
leaving nursing, maybe to return to, maybe not. It's still
yeah,
something there that is a deep passion of
yeah.
yours as well. And with
Mm,
the healthcare sector, I know that they're always looking for
mm.
people. So you've got a
Always.
good setup there. It's really
Yeah,
exciting to hear that. But
yeah,
I actually
yeah,
want to know a little bit more, if you can,
yeah,
maybe about a little bit more about your background and where you grew
yeah.
up.
So I am a proud Wiradjuri woman. So my mob is from central New South Wales, but I grew up in the mid North Coast in Kempsey on Dagari land.
Ah,
And so I grew up there. I think I was probably not the regular teenager that you would see in a kind of like low income um, high school. I like lived in the library. I loved reading. I was like the biggest Twilight fan of all time.
yep, yep,
And then my
iconic.
little friend group were like so entrenched in this kind of like book world.
Yeah.
And then obviously as I kind of like left school, so I left school and went straight into uni to do nursing. And then because you have to read so much in uni, I think the love for reading kind of like just disappeared
Yep.
because I was like, I don't want to read anymore.
Mm.
I was also going through lots of stuff. I was kind of working through my issues with alcohol. So I had a
Mm.
really significant and quite concerning like
Mm.
substance kind of use issue. As
Yep.
I think like as a lot of young people did in our generation, I
Hmm.
think there wasn't a lot of education and understanding around what alcohol can do to like your developing brain and to your
Yeah.
body and all that sort of stuff. And so
Mm.
then I kind of stopped that
Wow.
when I was about like 2021,
Oof.
and
Yeah.
obviously and I
Mm.
was like, well, I need to find another hobby. I need to find something else to do. And
Yeah.
reading came back to that. And I was like, how do I need to channel these feelings that I'm having.
Yeah.
Um, and I started reading again, which was like, I think that was pretty, I would say saving. I think that's probably a bit dramatic, but
No, but
I would say
I think it's true. Mm.
yeah, so I think like it was like nice to then have a hobby that I can redirect and a community to connect with. I think that's
Yeah.
where this was kind of where this kind of entrenchment with stuff like drinking and stuff came from community to connect
Yes.
with people. And I was like, oh, how do I then connect with people if I'm not drinking? And I found
Mm.
books where books were kind of big for that. So I did that. And but throughout my years, I've always wanted to be an author. I
Yeah.
wrote really bad things in high school.
We've all been
I
there.
think
We've all been there.
yeah, I think I used to write like self-insert Lord of the Rings fanfic. So
It's fine. I think that's where a lot of people get their first start with fan fiction and
yeah,
all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think it was like a really interesting thing. I and then I was it was COVID
Yep.
and obviously we're all stuck inside during the pandemic. And I think I was like so tired of doing puzzles and reading actually, really. I was so ferociously reading
Yeah.
that I bought a Kindle. I bought a Kindle again. So I hadn't had a Kindle for a very long time. And during the pandemic, I was like, oh, I really want to read From Blood and Ash. But I couldn't find it anywhere in the bookstores. And I'm a bit of a physical book girl. I don't really read too much on Kindle. So I was like, I'll buy
Interesting.
a Kindle and
Mm.
so I can read Full Blood and Ash. Like that's a
Yeah.
specific book I wanted to read.
Yep.
And then it just like opened this world up. And then I read Akatar, and then I just like I was like entranced with this whole romantasy genre. And then
Yes.
I remember talking to my husband. He's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll write a book." And he's like, "All right, whatever."
Cool.
Like
That's
this
awesome.
is this is the third hobby you've like gone through in like two
Yeah.
months because you're so bored. And I was like, "Oh," and then we did NaNoWriMo. So
Yep.
NaNoWriMo, if people don't know what it is, it used to be this big community thing where in the month of November you write 50,000 words. And so it's to kind of get you into the habit of writing and you like I met people through it and I met other authors through it and I was like, this is amazing. And
So
I
cool.
won and I wrote 50,000 words in 1 month
Oh,
from never writing. They were awful. Don't stress. They were so
no, no,
bad.
no. I'm impressed. I'm impressed as someone who takes like years to write books. Like, yeah, amazing.
I was just like, got it. And then I was like, oh, okay, I see what I'm doing here. And then I was like, this is it. This is perfect. Um,
Next step.
with like yeah, exactly. So like, I was like, then how, I've wrote this book. How do I get it published? And then that's
Mm.
kind of where it all opened up. So that book was Blessed by the Maiden, which is now unpublished because I have
Okay.
learnt so much now from that.
Yeah.
But but it's just like just open this entire world. And I think that's the incredible part of writing is that it is a very solitary thing. You do it by yourself. You're not doing it in a group. Well,
Mhm.
like sometimes you write in groups, but like
Sometimes.
you're mostly doing it by yourself. You're mostly doing it alone.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this is great. And then I found this beautiful community in Brisbane that is full of writers. And I was like, this is incredible. And I just was like, I was ferocious. I was like, I want to learn craft. I want to learn how how people write things. And then I started reading and reading and reading and reading. It was like, I found it. I found the genre that I really like. So I really like gothic fantasy.
Yes.
Rachel Gillig is my like dream author. She's like my favorite author of all time.
Love it.
Um, and Holly Black. So those two are
Yep.
like the people that I aspire to be like when I write. And so I was like, I just got to read more and more and more and more and more. So
Yep.
that's where I kind of come from.
Wow. Wow. That's an incredible start to your writing journey. Like, I'm
Uh,
so impressed that you took such a deep passion for reading and turned it into something where you're like, I'm
mm,
going to give this a go now.
yeah,
This world doesn't know what's hit it because I got all these ideas and I'm ready to go
literally.
for it. And it's really
It's,
interesting that you unpublished a book as well because that's
mm,
pretty like reflective and as in
mm,
self-reflective to be able to do
yeah,
that because
yeah.
I think that would have been a tough decision to make.
Oh, it was like what, and it was really awful to make because I
Mm.
released Blessed and then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. And then I wrote Shadows and then I
Mhm.
was like, oh, okay, I found my voice. And I think that's where a lot of
Mm.
authors really struggle in their first few books. And I guess like finding voice is really important.
Mm.
And then I was like, oh, I know how to write a book now. And then I would go back and read Blessed. I'm like, oh, there's so much stuff I could make it better. And
Yeah.
so it was a really
Mm.
tough decision because a lot of people really loved Blessed, and
Yeah.
I love it. It's my baby,
Yeah.
and a lot of people still ask me about it. And I unpublished that like 2 years ago, and people still ask
Mm.
about it. I got asked on a
Mm.
podcast I was on recently if anything was happening with it,
Yeah.
and so and there is. I
Oh,
can reassure everyone who loves
all
Blessed that
right.
there
There
is
we
stuff
go.
happening. I actually got it re-edited. So like the
Yeah.
idea, I worked with an editor for that book. And this is where like my feelings, I guess, come out about people you vibe with, working with people you vibe with. Is that
Yes.
I had an editor for Blessed that like I didn't really know. So like I was
Yeah.
like the first editor that I got, I was like, cool, great, thank you. Like, thank you for helping me with my book. And we just didn't vibe. And that's
Yeah.
absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And then I found a new editor. Her name's Britt. BLD Editing. I'll give her a little
Yes.
shout out.
Love,
She's
love,
like
love.
she's like an angel on this earth. Honestly, she's so beautiful. And so and so I was like, hey, can you look over Blessed? And she was like, oh, I'd love to. So we did another developmental edit on it, and she was like, I see where you're coming from. And I was like, you can be as cruel and like harsh as you want. She's like, there's
Yeah.
so much work that needs to be done. I was like, yeah, because I didn't know how to write a book. And I
Yeah.
was like, and I got so excited about the idea of people reading and connecting with characters that I probably
Mm.
just like rush it. I know people who
Yeah.
take years to write their first book. And so like,
Me.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like
Long,
I
long
was just
time. Yeah.
I just want people to read it. So I was just like, just rush it. But
Yeah.
in saying that, I think that's like a beautiful moment of reflection and learning
Mm.
as well because you like because it's like really important. I find that it's really important that like you are mindful about what you do, but also like
Yeah.
that you learn about from what you do. So
Yes.
like that's a big learning moment for me. And now even years later, I wrote Bless like 4 or 5 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe just at like maybe mid 2020.
Yep.
And now I go back and I'm like, oh, there's so much learning that I did from the just releasing and doing that book. And I was like, and I think that's probably more important than even releasing a
Yeah.
book is like the learning. So
Yeah.
and then I wrote Shadows and I was like, oh, here we go.
Here we
Because I actually
go.
wrote Shadows like in like a in an attempt to get out of like writer's block. So I was
Yes.
really blocked. So then I was like, I'll just write 10 chapters of another book.
Just
And then
casually.
I was like, and then I was like,
Love
oh,
it.
I'll just write no, it's fine.
Yep. You did it. You did it. Now there's a whole book.
Yeah.
Now there's a whole book that's come out of it. Yeah. But I find it also really kind and more than kind. I think it's really fair and not rare that you get such meaningful feedback from editors because they do give you
Yeah.
meaningful feedback. But I
Yeah.
really appreciate that Britt, your editor, took the time to be honest and to
Yeah.
be clear about things that she can make better because she believed in the book. And I
Yeah,
think that's
exactly.
a big honor to receive when you do
Mm.
get feedback that you go, this could be better because I believe in you
Yeah.
that this could be better.
Yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
see that maybe coming to life in the
Yeah.
future. Blessed might
Yeah.
make a return.
Yeah. And I think that's the greatest thing about working with people who
Yeah.
really treasure your words and
Yeah.
that don't see editing as like just like a formula like they just got to like get through it and just tell you what you need to do and it's
Yeah.
more about like how she's feels always so blessed. I like blessed her.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Like that connection.
um to like be in these worlds with you and like to be like you said like I know you could do better than this, like
Yeah.
let's work on doing better. And I have a really great alpha reader slash critique partner. Her name's Lauren Jones,
Yep.
and she reads all my work, and she often will highlight like entire paragraphs and be like, "You can do better than this, Demi."
Oh, oh,
And,
but that's
and I was
she's
like,
telling you.
and then I literally go, "Can I?"
And she was like,
And then I do.
yes, now do
And I get to,
it. Yeah,
and I think that's really valuable in
it
this
is.
industry of people that feel like, and I don't think neither Lauren nor Brit ever do anything to hurt my feelings,
No,
but it's always like in a place of love and care. But I
that's
think
right.
there's lots of fear around critiquing people's work, and
Yes.
um, I think that's where the tricky part comes in when you're doing beta reading, editing, and all that sort of stuff. Is like you don't want to critique people to the point where they're like, "Oh, I'm awful." Like,
Mm,
and I think that's the tricky part. But I also think like this industry, like writing is probably only art form that you give to someone else to critique. Like
mm,
painting, music, actually maybe music. Music is like one of those ones, but like this
mm.
is like an art form when you're like, hi, this is I'm bearing a part of my soul to you. Please
Yeah.
tell me where I've done right and where I've done wrong.
It's so vulnerable and it really
Yeah.
does require, like, for the people that are critiquing, I think that there is an art to it to be
Mhm.
mindful about the feedback that you're giving. When people make reviews that are very, like, social media buzz sort of friendly, where
Mm.
it just feels
Yeah.
like, is there really a purpose to this
Yeah.
review, or is it
Yeah.
like self-gratification of just
Yeah.
trying to get like your thoughts out there that are,
Yeah.
is it really helpful? Is it really going to help someone else maybe pick up the book? I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think we've got to be cautious about, yeah, how much we take on from those sort of things. But I really
Yeah.
appreciate it when you talk about how you've got some close, I guess, connections. Like maybe they're friends
Mm.
too. They probably would be
Mm.
friends of yours by this point with your alpha
Yeah.
readers telling you, go for it. I know you can do better. And I love it when friends
Yeah.
give the hard, give you the stick
Yeah.
on the back, say, shut up, do it. You can do it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
I think that's great because then it's like because yeah, because they believe in you, you've got it
Yeah.
in you. Like I have a really close little beta reader group.
Yeah.
They've beta read pretty much all of the Divine Bride series, and I was really stuck writing book two.
Yep.
It was a it was a harder book to write, not in the sense that it was like kind of like the second book syndrome.
Yeah.
It was just like I have a lot of things that I have to do that I didn't do in this book that I have to do
Mm.
in that book. And so I was like,
Yeah.
how do I do this? And
Yeah.
there's a scene that none of them liked. So
None of
it's
them.
not really a spoiler. Mia gets captured in the end of this book. So she gets
Okay.
taken prisoner
Yep.
by Idris's dad. So Idris's dad is King Mortius. He's the big bad. He's the evil. He's essentially like Dracula, but like a little sexier. And you find out through the book that you find that she's actually prophesied to be with him and not Idris. And so he captures her. She's trying to get out. She's like, don't want anything to do with you.
No.
I'm in love with your son. That's really weird. I don't want anything to do with you. But
Yeah.
there was
Love
an
it.
early draft. There was an early draft. Also, a little spoiler. There was an early draft that I wanted them to kind of fall in love with each other a little bit. Maybe not in
Mm.
love, but in lust. Maybe not in love.
Yes.
That's something.
Like
Lust.
that Stockholm syndrome sort of like captor thing, that
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because
Mm.
he is like this alluring creature that is like essentially made to be like seductive. So
Yes.
like I was like, she's gonna fold. Anyway, so I
Yep.
wrote this scene where they are intimate. They don't sleep together, they're intimate. So
Mm.
then and then my beta's like, she cannot do this. Absolutely not. I
Wow.
I was like,
Okay.
why? Tell
Yeah,
me why.
why? Tell me why. I want to know.
Like a creative
Hmm.
idea. Tell me what. And they're like, and then they gave me all these reasons. Actually, I had a
Okay.
really great beta reader. She sent me like maybe like a paragraph email being like, I don't believe me would do this. This is not right. Blah blah blah.
Wow.
Because she was so passionate about making this book the best it could be. And
Unbelievable.
I remember emailing her back and being like, oh, that was a lot. And she's like, oh, was it too much? I was like,
No,
actually, no. It's
that's a
actually,
gift.
I need this. I need to not be like let loose so wildly.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
interesting.
yeah. And so then I literally was like, okay, then I sat down. I was like, okay, I need to think about this. I need to actually consider what, like, I need to consider this more. And then through that, I created the second book. And it was actually like the best, I think it was the best way I could have gotten to where she needed to be by the end of the book. So I was like,
Mm,
yes, perfect.
interesting.
Um, but if I had all betas that were like, oh yeah, no, she should definitely sleep with his dad, I'd probably have a book where he sleeps with his dad because I was like, let that happen.
Yeah, and look, I think there could be arguments for if the type of character that Mia was to go
Mm.
down that path, it would have made sense. But
Yeah.
it's so incredible that your beta readers were so in tune with the character of Mia that
Mm.
they've seen things before where they go, I actually don't think this is going to work out for where she needs to be. Like
Yeah.
that's a dream to have a beta
Yeah.
team. Shout out to your beta
Yeah.
team because that is
Oh,
awesome
they're the
that
best.
they
Yeah.
really put you through, your paces to get it
Yeah.
right because they care. They love the story. They're like, no, we want
Yeah.
this to happen. And it feels so, it's just those moments where you feel really connected to this world
Mm.
and really grateful to
Yeah.
be there. So that's
Yeah.
that's just amazing, Demi. I love hearing
Yeah.
stuff like that. So you have
Yeah.
now you've got book two out and everything, which we'll get
Mhm.
into. We'll get into further down in the
Yeah.
little questions sheet that I've got there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do want to get your opinion on what you find is the hardest part about writing versus most enjoyable, if you have a perspective on that.
Oh, I think that I actually I've just finished essentially the first draft of a book that I'm writing
Mm,
outside of all of this. I'm writing it for my agent. So I find the most awful, terrible part is drafting. I loathe drafting. I think
yeah,
it's because I can't, it's because I love editing so much that I find drafting really, really like laborious because
yeah,
there's no words. There's nothing on the page. And I
yeah,
call them the white, like the blank page scaries
yeah, yeah.
because
So apt.
I'm literally like, what do I write? And that's where like I always struggle. So I draft really slowly. And I know people who can do like a first draft in like 6 weeks because they're just like, oh, let's get
Could
it out.
never be
But
me.
I never could be me.
Nah.
I'm so slow. And I'm just like, think that's I think that's that's one of the things that I find the least enjoyable. But also the other part I find least enjoyable is this like constant imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And you have probably had a lot of people talk about imposter syndrome on the
Mm,
podcast, but
but it's a thing.
um, it's like such a thing. And I think that's the trickiest part about all of this is like just having this unrelenting belief in yourself.
Yeah.
Um, because you've got to, no one else is going to believe in your books as much as you've got to believe in your books.
Yeah,
And so it's
that's
the
right.
trickiest. And I like have to battle this like strange imposter syndrome.
Yep.
Um, like not near constantly, but like a lot of the times, like I've been involved in really big, exciting things, and I
Mm.
have to be like, oh, I deserve to be here. I worked really hard to get here.
Yes.
And but I also be like, oh, I'm just like a baby. I had to tell someone was like, oh, I said someone the other day, I was like, I'm just a baby author. They're like, Debbie, you're not a baby author.
No, I was going to say, Demi, come on now. I think you've done the hard work to no longer
Yeah,
be a baby. I think you are
no,
more past the toddler territory than you think,
yeah,
and
I know,
give yourself that pat on
yeah,
the back. But to talk to that a little bit more, I think that it's such a common thing that people experience, and no matter if you have the beta readers hyping you up. You've
mm,
got your
yeah,
editor that's so passionate about it. Your alpha readers
mhm,
also so passionate
yeah,
about it. It always comes back to
mhm,
you to push you
yeah,
through. Mm.
yeah, yeah. And I think and I think when I first started, I was like, oh, like plus I won't be like I believe in my work and all this sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
then you're exposing yourself so vulnerably and that
Yeah.
you're like, oh, actually, this is not very nice. I don't really like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's
you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, maybe. I don't know. Is this going to be
but
my reality now? Like, oh gosh, it's a lot.
it's like the idea of being perceived is like so strong. But
Oh,
I
mm, yeah, I hate
like
it.
it's so wild because I was at the end of last year I was really burnt out. I had
Mm.
written two books in a year,
Yeah.
one being like 140,000 words, and
Oh,
I was really burnt out. And I was really struggling with the idea of I wanted to continue writing or not.
yep.
And I was like, I don't know, I don't really want to do this anymore. I was also going through lots of other stuff. I was dealing with infertility, and we had a
Mm,
really serious miscarriage, and I was like,
mm,
nah, I was like, that's enough. And then I also think that's when this imposter gremlin, as I like to call it, crept in, and
yep.
I was like, I'm like, I don't ever want to compare myself to others, and I
Mm,
think that's where the comparison is the thief of joy. But I also think like it's really difficult when you're in that kind of burnt out imposter syndrome kind of way to be like,
yep.
why aren't I getting that? Why aren't I
Yes.
getting the opportunity to other people? I've done the hard work, and I should be given this. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I had to give myself a bit of a slap, be like, don't be silly, Demi. That's so
Wow.
ridiculous. And
That's
like be
some
like,
hard work to get to that point to pull you out of that. Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, you like, your time will come.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, as soon as I did that, my agent approached me. So
It's
like, okay,
crazy. It's just crazy
okay,
how that happens. I mean, I say crazy, but I just feel like it was meant to be. I think
yeah,
that we don't know what's around the corner, that's for
mm,
sure. We just show up, we just do our thing
yeah,
because we enjoy it. But it really goes to show that in moments of complete, with grief, to be honest, what
yeah,
you're
mm,
experiencing, what you were talking
mm,
about sounded like it was a grief-stricken time.
yeah, yeah.
No wonder you were feeling like, I no, this is, you probably didn't feel like yourself because
No,
when things
definitely.
are overwhelming, it's just so, you just like your default changes and you
Yeah,
kind of just revert. Maybe this is just my experience. I just revert back to the shell a little bit. The
yeah,
communication
yeah,
walls just completely crumble
yeah,
and I just have to stop.
yeah,
And perhaps that moment where you did have to reflect in those deep
mm,
moments
yeah,
really pulled you out of that. But
yeah,
I'm so impressed that you were able to do that through
mm,
everything that was thrown at you because you're totally
yeah,
in your right to go, no, this is not for me. And that's for everyone as well.
yeah,
If it's too much, please just focus on yourself. That's all you can
yeah,
do because it'll always be
and
there.
yeah, yeah, literally, and that's what, and I remember having a conversation with one of my best friends, and she's like, stop them. She's like, no one's pressuring you, and no one
Yeah.
is. Readers will understand, and
Yep.
she made this like really good point, and I remember being like, I was like, oh, that's you're. She's like, you're not SJM.
Ah!
She was
Well,
like,
yes.
yeah. So
Well,
she's like,
yes.
no one's gonna. She's like, no one's gonna care.
Yeah,
No one's gonna get upset at you if you need to take 6 months off. Like,
that's right.
if you need to
With
be
peace
like,
and love, yes. Like that's the truth. That's the truth. And I think I
yeah,
do feel for authors. I've had a lot
yeah,
of respect now for traditional authors where I see
mm,
the amount of pressure that's put on them. And I'm
yeah,
thankful that for myself that I am indie and I just do
yeah,
what I'm doing whenever. And that's the same for you.
yeah,
I love that
yeah,
advice that your friend gave you. You're not
yeah,
in the same pressure cooker as Sarah
no,
J. Mass, so
yeah.
don't worry about that. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
exactly. And I think I remember being like a little offended, but then I go, oh yeah, okay, that's you're so right. Because in the end, and I tell people I was talking to another author and she was like, I feel really like stressed, I don't want to write. And I was like, then don't write.
Then
Like
don't.
in the end,
Yeah.
your readership will always remain there. And if your true readers will always come back to you.
Yeah.
And anyone with a heart will understand that if you're not feeling it or if there's no passion there. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
read a book that someone's just written because like they have to or they're like, oh, I just got to
No
get this through.
way.
Like
No.
I'd rather let that person have whatever time they can go and do other things.
Yeah.
Go write another book
That's it.
and
Go
then
write
come
another
back to
book.
things.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
come back to it. Like I think and that's the greatest thing about being indie is that you can
Yeah.
have that flexibility
Yeah.
and that like time as well
Yeah.
because yeah we've all got other stuff going on in our lives and I think
That's right.
social media and this like author face that we put on
Yep.
is like one of those things as well it's like
Oh,
it's like you only see the good things on social media. You only see the things that I want you to see.
That's right.
And you don't
Mm.
see all like everything else that's going on. It's like the tip of the iceberg. It's like you don't see everything else going on underneath
There's
that water.
so
So
much you don't know about what someone is going through, what
yeah,
circumstances there are. And I think we've got to really own that and just be
yeah,
mindful about how we even talk about things and voice our
yeah,
opinions on social media and just to be
yeah, exactly.
mindful about we just don't know.
No, you don't know. And I think
No.
that's the tricky thing about social media is that
Yeah.
like people are becoming more honest on social media
Mm-hmm.
and expressing themselves in a sense of being like,
Mm.
I'm really struggling, or like
Yeah.
I've got like I spoke about my infertility
Mm.
on my social media, and I never wanted to expose parts of me like that because I
Mm.
felt a bit like vulnerable and a bit
Yeah.
like, oh, you don't want to know about that. That's just me and my stuff. You just want to know about my
Mm.
books. You don't really want to know about. And
Mm.
the overwhelming support I got from people
Yeah.
was like it actually moved me to tears because
Yeah.
I was like, and like stuff like infertility is very isolating, very
Yeah.
alone, and then you have people random stuff like you don't I, like that you don't even speak to, like
Yeah.
message you being like, you're gonna get through this, it's gonna be great, and it's like, oh wow, this is really great.
Yeah.
And so
It's
like,
beautiful.
and it's like it's beautiful. It's the balance of that, I guess. It's the idea of being like you've got to be vulnerable online, but also be like
Yeah.
mindful, and it's just like it's so weird.
Yeah. Kind of like to just hold
But,
space to, it's okay to make
yeah,
mistakes and, feel like,
yeah,
oh, if you're in a mood and you put something online and all that stuff. But,
yeah,
just to be mindful too that if it doesn't,
yeah,
if you're not in the right headspace, you don't have to use it. It's okay to take a step back.
yeah,
But if you do
yeah,
talk about such important things like miscarriage and
yeah,
infertility, rather,
yeah.
you will be received, I think, more often than not. There's a big push for people to want to
Mm.
talk about this stuff, breaking
Yeah,
the taboos around
yeah,
discussions to do with that. And of course, there'll be
yeah,
people that they have opinions about whatever, that's fine.
mm,
But more
yeah,
often than not, I've seen so much more support for those topics in this beautiful
yeah,
book community that we have and
yeah,
outside the book community. But yes, it is such a place where of joy in this writing
mm,
community and using
yeah,
social media to connect with others. So
yeah,
I'm guessing that might be one of the most enjoyable parts of your writing.
yeah.
Yeah, your writing
That is so
process.
true. Yeah, I think I love connecting with readers, and I think that's why I always want to write books that have that people can see themselves in or have
Yes.
or feel like an experience they can feel. And so like in Shadows, for example, like Mia goes through like an incredible grief. So her sister
Yeah.
dies. It's in the
Hmm.
blurb, it's not a spoiler, it's in
No,
the
no.
blurb.
Yeah, yeah.
Murdered, so she has to find the person, the creature, whomever, to
Yeah.
do it.
Mm.
And I really wanted the idea of the book to follow her through her grief and through her kind of challenges of trying to find herself in this world where she doesn't really belong.
Yeah.
Um, and I think and I've had lots and lots of readers like approach me and say, I can't believe you wrote about this and that I connected so well with it. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's my goal. I remember when I wrote Shadows, I was like, if five people read it and they connect with it, I'll be happy. And I was
Yep.
like, that's it.
Yep.
And then I've had a few more readers than that.
Just a few.
But
It's been
but
amazing.
but it like that's the most magical part about all of this. I think that's what keeps me going.
Yes.
And it's the idea of having this like beautiful connection, like a
Yeah.
thread almost, like to a reader. And
Yeah.
and the idea of being able to kind of like help them through a thing, like or like be like, for example, like me as a plus size character, so be able to
Mm.
see themselves being respected and loved in a book as
I
well. So
definitely want to touch on that in particular because that was
yeah,
something that was on my mind thinking when I read through, about the book and everything. I
yeah,
really appreciate that you have called out the fact that you have a protagonist who is a plus size character
mhm,
because I love when we expand the representation of
yeah,
protagonists in this world and being plus size myself, I
yeah,
very much appreciate how you have written the protagonist like this. And there's more
yeah,
to Mia's persona than her physical attributes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I think that is awesome that you did that. So very much claps to you.
Thank you. It was
Love it.
it was very on purpose too. So
Yes.
I wanted to write someone who was body diverse. So I was,
Yes.
and it makes sense for me character. She's a
That's
noble woman in a country like that's well fed. She's
that's right.
an artist. Like it makes so
Love
much
it.
sense for her body. But I also think like
Yeah.
that in the end, like I was very mindful about separating who Mia is and her body.
Yep. Yep.
I talked kind of extensively about this on a podcast I was on recently as well,
Mm.
because I think that we need representation of all bodies in
That's
books.
it.
And like, because
100%.
I think there, especially in romantasy, there
Yes.
is a fallback on this like tiny waif-like person, which is like fine as well. Like in
Yeah,
the end, it's fine. Like
of course.
all bodies are bodies. Like
Yep.
I talk about body neutrality, less body positivity, body neutrality, that it's
Yes.
your body and it gets you to do the things that it needs to do.
Yes.
So I guess like the idea is that like that Mia has so many other things going on.
Yeah.
I said she has all other faults. She has so
Yes.
many bad worse things that she does than being in a plus size body. And so like, and I
That's it.
also was really mindful about how I wrote her, that she never really has any like internalized feelings about her body. She actually quite likes her body and she
Yeah.
loves it. And
Yeah.
the male main characters, both Win and Idris, she has two. Both of them love her
Yeah.
beyond what her body looks like. And I think that was
Perfect.
so important.
Yes.
Um,
Very much.
and like she like does some other things. I just got a content pull down by Steph. I think her name is like the bookish. Her handle is reads with uh, Capricorn reads or
Oh,
something like that.
yes.
Anyway,
Yes, I
yes.
know. I know. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so she was like, me is the queen of bad ideas. And I was like, she is the queen of bad ideas. She does so many other things that are bad, like
That's
sleeps with her dad's best friend. I don't know.
I think she's very reflective of the fact that humans are flawed and
Yes.
but it is so important to talk about the fact that you know, I think if there's an opportunity, well, this is what I always believe, if there's an opportunity to explore, challenging stereotypes with,
Mm,
you know, typical female main character leads, and there's an
yeah.
opportunity to explore what other possibilities that form can take, let's do it
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
can do whatever we want in self-publishing, to be honest. And
Exactly.
I see it a lot in the illustration community as well, because I love to
Mm,
illustrate too, and I follow
yeah.
illustrators. And the type of artwork that I do gravitate towards is ones that explore different types of bodies in
Yeah.
whatever fashion that is, even
Yeah.
with some of the posts that I see where they talk about how to draw plus size people in this way,
Yeah.
and that's accurate,
Mm,
and be mindful of these body parts and all that kind
yeah.
of stuff and how it
Yeah.
looks. Like
Yeah.
this, it's very important to talk about it, because
Yeah.
we are all different shapes and
Yeah.
sizes, which
Exactly.
is like, hello, I'm not
Yeah.
saying anything groundbreaking here, but I
No,
think
exactly.
media has had a long-standing issue with
Yeah.
representation of different
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important and exciting to see that
Mm,
you have written a character who reflects the body
mm,
type that you would like to see represented more in
yeah.
the literary world, in the
Yeah.
romantasy
Yeah.
world in particular.
Yeah.
Mm.
And and I guess it's like the idea of like how do we unassemble this kind of like internalized fat phobia that has
Yes,
been kind of like entrenched in us. Like
for
I
sure.
think like the kind of like generation that we are like
Hmm.
America's Next Top Model,
Yeah.
Weight Watchers, like all
Are
those
you a
types of things that
millennial
were
as well?
yes, yes, I am.
I'm 95, so I think yeah, that's millennial. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that's like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So like I think the era that we kind of grew up in, I'm 93, so like I
yeah,
think that was like really entrenched in us of this idea of being like, what is desirable? And
absolutely.
in turn, what's desirable for men? Yuck, I don't
Yes.
really want to ever think about that. But like
Yeah, I know,
but like
right? Yeah. But you are
but like
programmed to be
yeah,
so conscious about that. What you kind of learn, what's a acceptable body and what's not,
yeah,
and what do you need to,
yeah,
what behaviors do you need to do in order to look like, if you are in this unacceptable body in quotation marks,
yeah,
then you need to always strive to be trying to fix that hypothetically. I'm
Yes.
getting on a
Yeah.
tangent there, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think in the especially in the romantasy world,
Yeah.
we forget that we can have I think a lot of authors are a little bit worried about having diverse bodies in their books
Mm.
because the idea of having to dismantle that idea of what is desirable and what is like what can a person in a bigger body do. And it's like I
Right.
can I can like I can believe in dragons. I
Yeah.
could like suspend my disbelief to believe in dragons and vampires. You can suspend anyone can suspend their disbelief that a main character can be plus size. Like that's just a fact.
Sure, I love that. I think that's so true, but it certainly is. It's entrenched in the way that we think about, I'm just going to go with like female beauty as well, that I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
there are certain types of when we create female main characters and male main
yeah,
characters as well,
yeah,
where we are looking for certain attributes that align with I don't know, an attractive quality. So a
yeah,
lot of people will gravitate towards, I guess, like certain curvaceous features on a woman
yeah,
or,
yeah,
big muscles on a man. And one thing that
yeah.
I was conscious about in my own writing for my little, this is just an example in my little short story, Alara and the Passing. I made a point to make the male main character not super tall, like only maybe
Yeah.
a couple of centimeters taller than the female main character. And I
Hmm.
remember chatting with my sister about this because we're both tall ladies, us two, but she's
Yeah.
taller than me. She's like, why have you, oh, okay, short king, why have you made him so short? And I was like, no, but why is it a critique?
Yeah.
Why can't we, we don't always have to have the hulking tall men to be like
No,
this big, attractive sort of, yeah,
no,
like I
yeah,
think if it suits the character, then it suits the character. And this character is
yeah,
someone that can control air magic. And, I just wanted to
yeah,
create maybe someone who's a bit like Leith and, anyway.
yeah, yeah,
So I love exploring different body types.
yeah.
Mm.
And it's got to make sense to the character in the end. In the end, out of all of this, if we break it down, it has to make sense to the character.
Yeah,
For example, it makes sense for Mia to be a plus size woman. She's
that's it.
in a well-fed, wealthy family.
That's
If you
right.
have a character who is starving in a slum,
Yes,
that's not they're not.
it's
Like
going
I
to be
think
different.
that the it's going to be different, and I
Yep.
think you've got to be mindful about that. And it's also you've got to be like mindful about the ideas of what like especially in men. I think the romantic trope is they're always like tall, dark, and handsome. Like I
That's
think
it.
and some of these books that are coming out, like some of the like I
Mm,
think about like The Knight and the Moth and like
mm.
people like Rory Mantasius. Like he's attractive, obviously, but he's like not described as this big hulking,
Yeah,
brooding man. He's like
yeah.
always has eyeliner on his three little gold rings. Anyway, I
Love
won't
it.
talk about him for too long because I'm
But
obsessed. But
yeah, but this is it. You're obsessed in ways that you're like, I like this about this character. I
yes,
like
exactly.
that there's little things because,
Mhm.
okay, tall, dark, and handsome. Okay, maybe that's just a stereotype where it's like, all right, sure, that's fine. But it's like, what are
Yeah,
the actual little intricate details that you
mhm,
can make about a
mhm.
character who's in a romantic
Yeah,
context that you're really attracted to? And it's not
yeah,
necessarily about their looks. It's their
no,
personality, or it's,
yeah,
the fact
exactly.
that they wear certain things, or the eyeliner and all that
Yes,
stuff. You like that
yes,
vibe. So,
yeah,
yeah, I love
yeah.
exploring that.
And
Yes.
it's doing things for the character. Like there's a
Yeah.
scene in Shadows
Yeah.
where so she is arrested by they're essentially the police that are in this world. So she's arrested because she's
Yes.
found with another body, and they're like, "Sus, why do you keep being found with bodies?" And she's like, "Why do
Mm,
you keep letting women die in your city?" So like she's like facts,
love it.
and so she
Thanks.
doesn't call her dad, who's like a the king, like the Lord's right hand man.
Yeah.
She calls Win Neverclove. And Win Neverclove is a very complex character. He
Okay.
is her dad's ex best friend. And you find out in the novella why they're not friends. And they were friends. They were in this little, like, Fae fighting team, essentially, pack.
Yeah.
And something happens and they can't stand it. Well, Win can't stand him. And
Yep.
so they're not friends anymore. And so she calls Win. She actually sleeps with Win. I tell people that this all the time. She sleeps with Win to get back at her dad for other stuff. But
Love it.
again, she's messy. But she calls him to when she gets arrested
Yep.
because she knows that he can help her get out. And if she calls her dad, it's going to be a big thing. So she calls Win, and Win comes and protects her. And then they go and they talk about what's happened. And there's a scene right at the end of the book where I was writing, and actually Britt picked this up because I was just writing. I was like, la la, and she wrote, I wrote that his eyes crinkled when he laughed, and she went, "That's hot." And
Oh, I
I'm
love
like,
that.
I'm like, wow. And it's like those little things
Exactly.
that like you notice like in for example in the book that I'm currently writing she what looks at his hands and his hands have scars all over them
Yeah.
and she talks about how she wants to know each and every reason why he's got every scar
Hmm.
and like those things are like to draw connection and they're aesthetic but they're also to draw connection with the reader
Exactly.
and the characters. Does that make
Yes.
sense? I'm in forever.
No, it makes absolute sense because there's a reason why we like to spend time writing characters, developing
Yeah,
them. And it's the same way we fall in love with people in our lives, is because we go, I love that
yeah,
part about you. Aesthetics are
exactly.
always fleeting. We can always change that, but there are certain
Yeah,
things about our bodies or our personalities that are
yeah,
constant that we fall in love, which
yeah,
that should lead me on to perhaps another question that I have for you about
yeah,
character development, which is
yes,
about our wonderful Mia that we've been talking
yeah.
about before. I would love to get your perspective on the ways that she has evolved as a character between book one
Oh.
and then book two, potentially book three if you have one, but I will let you lead that and you say what you divulge whatever you want to say.
Um, I think her character development is actually really interesting because she starts out in Shadows, this kind of like really insecure, kind of like shy girl who kind of like is living in the shadow of her sister. Her sister's like this vivacious socialite, and she's kind of living in the shadows. She sees herself as kind of this like gremlin in the dark because she's like just painting, and she's like, all I want to do is paint. I don't really want to be at court. I don't really care about them. But she like secretly does. She secretly wants to have these friends that her sister has, and her sister tragically dies,
Yeah.
and so she has to kind of like work out how does she first like find the person who did it. Second of all, like kind of live without her sister. Her sister was kind of her lifeline.
Yeah.
And so throughout this book, she kind of like is obviously faced with lots of trials and tribulations to kind of like push her along in that character development.
Yeah.
But I was also really mindful that like I didn't want Idris, the who is a love interest in this book.
Yep.
He's one of two.
One of
I didn't
two.
want him to swoop. I didn't want him to swoop in and be like change her. Like I
Yeah.
didn't want him to catalyst for her change. I wanted herself to be the catalyst for her change.
Yeah.
And so you see through the books of this like stubborn, this like resilience that she starts to develop. And like right at the end of the book, no spoilers, but right at the end of the book that she does, she's the one that like saves the day. She's the one that runs out. He doesn't do anything. He's actually off, lost to the sewers. And she does it herself, and she's determined to help save her friend and
Yeah.
save her city.
Yeah.
And so then, like, turned, she's still haunted by her grief. And I think that's was really mindful when I was writing book two, is that I wanted Mia to still be haunted by her grief, but not consumed by it, because she's kind
Yeah.
of consumed by it in here. And I
Hmm.
think that's a really nice way to kind of like show her character progression because
Yeah.
she can't be so consumed by it. She's got other stuff to deal with. She's got to save the world. Like,
I know.
like she's
Isn't that just
like,
like a statement for real life? It's like sometimes you just gotta, okay, I gotta go to work now, I can't just.
she can't wallow in it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's true with grief.
Yeah.
You can wallow, but at some stage you've got to accept and move on. And like
Yeah.
and she still thinks about her sister, and she still thinks about how like her life has changed. But in book two, she really comes into herself.
Mm.
She starts being a bit more like secretive and a little bit more manipulative in a sense that she's trying to like save herself and get out of this awful place that she's in.
Mm.
She starts accepting who she was supposed to always be. So like she is like she's got a hidden identity. So like she's a
Mm.
witch. All the witches in this world are kind of dead
Yeah.
because the king has burnt them all at the stake for some reason, for spoily reasons. I won't go into that. But in the second book, she's really coming into herself and her magic, and she's really there's a period of time where she doesn't have her magic. And
Yeah.
she just can't connect to her shadows because she is a shadow wielder. She can't
Mm.
connect with her shadows, and she feels really lost. And I think that's a really nice contrast of how she was really unaccepting of them when she first found out about them. She was like, "Oh, I don't want anything to do with them," and now she finds this comfort and this connection with them,
Mm.
because that's a part of her, part of who she is, part of her legacy and her connection to her mum and the witches that came before her. So I thought that was a really nice way to kind of like contrast to being like she feels so empty without her magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then by the end of the second book, which will lead into the third book, which hopefully is going to come out soon. I'm at halfway through it. Um, it
Amazing.
leads into this like I call her bad bitch era.
Good. I love that. She deserves it.
She's literally like I'm like, so traumatized, but I need to get shit done. So like
Bless you.
she's like literally coming into herself in a way that I think is a really nice progression of kind of age as well. So she starts being like 21, 22, and by
Yeah.
the end of the series, she's like 20, she'd be like 23, 24.
Yeah. That
Um,
frontal lobe is connecting or whatever
yeah,
they say.
exactly. Yeah, your frontal lobe's developing, but it's
Yeah.
also like the idea of being like, I'm not a kid anymore, but
Yes.
I don't feel like I'm adult enough for this, but like
Yep.
her progression in age is also like, well, I
Yeah.
have to do this. Um, but I also was really mindful that I wanted her to like still like be a little messy because like I wouldn't want her to like become a character that's like so good at everything all at once.
No. No, those are
Like
boring. Those are
she needs
boring.
to
Not
be sort of
relatable.
messy. But she still makes lots of mistakes. She still does things that she definitely will regret. But like I think that's nice to show she's learning and that she's
Yeah.
like, yeah. I think
Love
does
it.
that answer your question?
That 100% answered my question. I can see. I love that. I think that maybe I'm getting inspired as well for when I
Mm,
get up to book two, for Still Waters Run Deep,
yeah.
which features it's a young adult story, but I
Mm,
am conscious about the age and how so the main character in mine is 17. And I think I
yeah.
would like to explore how your worldview does change with
Mm,
age.
yeah.
Probably that book will still be in the young adult category, even if the main character hits 18, really. I think that that
Yeah.
would be. But
Yeah.
I really love how you talked about how Mia's growth is also related to her age, but also
Mm,
her experiences in past and dealing with the grief as well. And I
yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
so captivating for a lot of people to follow that
Yeah.
journey. So there will be a book
Yeah.
three, is that right?
Yes, there is will be book three, and that's the final
Yep.
of all the Divine Bride series.
Ah,
Yes,
okay.
the
So
finale.
even like ties in like with the novella as well, because
Yes,
we should
yes,
touch on that too,
yes.
about that wonderful
So,
novella.
the Road to the Warrior is kind of like a it's essentially a standalone
Yeah,
in the sense that it's a contained story,
yeah.
and that I suggest reading it only because it gives you like way more information about things like the hearts match and
Yeah.
it's like a fun romance. So,
Yeah.
but I was really inspired because I was writing like the main series is quite dark and
Yep.
quite I call it really emotionally heavy, like especially like when you talk about grief and loss and like things when things are traumatizing,
Mm,
it can be really heavy. And then I was like, oh, I just want to write a book where like two people fall in love.
love
And so
it.
I was like, I really want to write Henry and Anne's story. So Henry and Anne are Mia's adopted parents.
Yep.
Um, and so they have grown up on different sides of a war, and the Rose and the Warrior is essentially when Henry is sent as an emissary to Alderdine to kind of barter peace for his people, which like and eventually crumbles because they're never truly at peace.
Yeah.
But he's essentially trying to find a place for his people to settle because war is raging through the Feylands by the Human King. So
Mm,
he's trying to find that. And Anne is a noble lady. I think she's Duchess, and she kind of um, has lived this life where she's lived kind of as a ward to the Lord of Aberdeen, and then he dies, and then she is engaged to his son.
oh,
So So Heartland. Most of the characters in this book are in their younger versions are in this. So she's engaged to Heartland. She thinks she's in love with him. They're like childhood best friends
Yeah.
essentially. And she's like, I'm in love with him. I'm so excited to be the lady of Aldi. Like, oh my God, like my life is perfect. And then she rides her horse Carrots, who's like a standout character in this
Carrots. I
book.
know. I saw that too, and I was like, oh, carrots. So
She rides
cute.
Carrots into the woods and they're attacked by a wolf and
Um,
Henry saves them. And then she's like, huh, perhaps I, perhaps all the things I've wanted aren't the actual things that I've wanted, but they're
maybe.
actually things that society has pushed onto me. And
Yes.
so her and Henry have start this kind of love affair.
Love it. I
Um,
love that. Mhm.
and it's just, yeah, it's just so like full of yearning. And I really, really wrote that. I was like really like got my yearning boots on because I was like, they've got to like yearn for each other. They can't just like get together. They can't. It just doesn't work that way. They've got to
No.
yearn for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool.
And then like her character is then like going like, or is Heartland and what I've experienced all my life, is that actually what I want? Or is
Amazing.
it, yeah, is that what I actually want? Do I
Mhm.
actually want to get married to this
Mhm.
man who like loves her, but like doesn't love her like Henry loves her?
Yes, I
So
love those stories where it's like there's someone who can see the real you through it, and that's
yes,
special when
yes,
you can find someone like that.
yes, yes. So yeah, so that's kind of the novella.
Wow, that is perfect. I want to read it. I want to add that to my TBR list, please. I think that's just so cool. Is there any other sort of magical elements in the novella that are similar to in the shadows? What was I going to say? I've just completely the shadows that become her. Sorry, the divine
Yeah.
guide. Yes.
Not particularly. I
Hmm.
think I wrote specifically because Henry doesn't have that much magic. Like
Yep.
he's more of like a warrior knight than his ability to use his magic.
Yep.
But I also like the idea of wanting to explore his and Wynn's relationship
Yeah.
of like why they hate each other
Yeah.
and like the complication of when Henry finds out that Wynn and Mia are together,
Yeah.
and how that is really it's going to be really complicated and how that's going to be really awful in book three.
Yeah. I love that. Sometimes you just need another book outside of the series to kind of
Mhm.
just tie some things together because
Yeah,
not everything, like a book can really only, I mean, this is subjective, but
yeah,
it sometimes just needs to fit into a certain amount of words. But there's also concepts that you're like, oh, this could be explored more. So let's
yeah,
do something that's an interconnected standalone, a prequel of
yeah,
such, and all that. So I'm really
yeah.
glad that you have written a novella that kind of
And
explores things beforehand.
I think it helps contextualize some of the
Yeah,
concepts of putting in like books two and three.
yeah.
I also was trying to like learn how to write different POV. So when I first wrote the novella, I actually wrote a dual POV. So
Yeah.
Henry and Anne. And I was like, and it got too big and it just got too complicated. And I was like, this has to be like an easy story
Yes.
because in book two, it's dual POV with Mia and Idris. And I was like, I've never really written dual POVs.
No,
So I was
neither.
like, I need to do this as an experiment, as be
Yeah.
like, how can I actually do it? And I ended up cutting Henry's POV because in the end, it's Anne's book. Like
Yep.
in the end, it's her book.
Yeah, you had to
And
make
I was
that
like,
decision. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, it like we don't really need him. He doesn't need. We don't need to know him. He tells us what we need to know,
Yeah.
and they yearn across the ballroom at each other. That's all we need to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really interesting, the idea of writing dual POVs and like how
Yeah.
to make the character sound very different,
Yeah.
and how that's where I just really struggle because I obviously have written lots of single POVs.
Mm.
Single POV is really hard, and that's what I found challenging in the book too, is that the idea of being like how Idris and Mia do not think alike, and their experiences are very different. How would they think differently? And it's going to be really fun because in book three we get Wynn's POV,
My
so
goodness.
we switch the male POVs in book three. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's going to be very exciting. So that's a bit of a
yeah,
bit of a what do you call it? preview into book three.
Yes.
Because my
Hmm.
next question for you is what's next for Demi Clorissa? What's coming up on the horizon? And you can talk about book three, but you could also talk about maybe your plans to come visit in Australia or
Yeah.
internationally as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me know.
So, so I'm currently writing a book that my I pitched to my agent, so who potentially will pitch it out to publishers. So it's a
Amazing.
Hades Persephone retelling that is Regency era inspired.
Oh my goodness. That's so
With
cool.
a big Hades Persephone twist. So yeah, so it's not like your typical Hades Persephone retelling.
Mm,
Persephone has died, and
okay.
Maisie has come along as a runaway bride to help Ro, who's the king of Hades,
Yeah.
to cure his land because his land is dying. And so she has to
Okay.
kind of like work out why that is happening. And as they do that, of course they fall in love.
Of
Of
course,
course.
of course. Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. And that's what I'm kind of working on now. Book three is percolating.
Yep.
Um, I've got a
Nice.
lot of stuff to do in book three. There's a lot of ground to cover. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to percolate to make sure everything is all wrapped up nicely
Wrap
in
it
a little
up.
bow.
Yes.
Um, I've got that going on.
Amazing.
I've got some Australian events coming up. So
Yep.
I've got Falling for Fiction in June in Sunshine Coast,
That's not
and then I
too
come
far
back to
away.
it's literally like 3 weeks.
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
excited.
So
Um,
cool.
and then I've got in July, I'm going to be a featured author at a readers retreat. So She Journeys creates these really luxurious retreats for readers,
Ooh.
and they asked if me and a few other authors asked if they wanted to kind of come and be a featured author there, do some Q&As, run a little
Amazing.
panel.
That's so cool. That's so cool, Demi. Oh,
It's
that's so
so much
exclusive.
fun.
Yeah.
And then what else do I have? And then so I also have a little anthology that's kind of wrapping up at the end of um June, which is called These Yearning Hearts, which is a forbidden romance
Ooh.
cross royalty um
Mm.
little anthology. So my story is about Blythe, who is a queen in a foreign country, and her love interest is the jester.
Oh, that's fun. That's very
Yeah.
fun. I like that.
So that's like it expands over a night of her last night of her wedding celebrations to this king, and her desire for this jester is
Wow.
ramping up.
Love it. That's so interesting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
It's diabolical.
it was
Oh,
actually so much fun.
I can imagine. Now, with the later half of 2026, because I know I
Yeah,
can't believe that we're really speeding towards June now.
yeah.
Are you going to be at any other book events in the later half of 2026 or even into 2027?
So I'll be in 2027. I'll be at Brimstones and Bookshelves in New
New
Zealand.
Zealand. So cool.
Which is really exciting. I'm really excited for that. It's like a huge, like, it was like my dream signing when I was like writing like my manifestation for the year. I was
Yes.
like, I want to sign at Brimstones,
Yep.
because like Ken Cole is signing there, S.T. Gibson signing. Anyway, so I can
Amazing.
fangirl.
Yep. I love
Um,
it.
but no, I've had to pull right back on events. Obviously, I live in Malaysia, so it's a bit more of a tricky situation to get back into the try to get back to the country.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but I'm excited. I don't have any pending releases though, so
Oh, well, that's all
keep an
right.
eye out.
Keep an eye out. This is just the life, the writing life, where it's just like
Yeah,
sometimes you'll just wake up one day and you'll be like, all right, here I've just seen an update from Demi Clarissa. And other
yeah,
times you just gotta let it percolate, as you said
yeah,
before.
exactly,
So it's
exactly.
very, very exciting with all of the things that you have coming up, Demi.
Yes,
I should
yes,
start to wrap up this wonderful chat that we've had together. I can see that our timer is ticking again.
yes.
Oh my
It
God. I
is,
feel like
it
it's
is.
just gone like that. Like it's
I
just,
know.
yeah, it's the
I
yapping in
told you
us.
I can. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I just sit back and was like, I love it. I love it. But where can people get in contact with you, follow you, and all that stuff? Plug
Mhm.
yourself, plug your social medias.
Well, you can find me and my dark romantasy cross murder mystery at Demi Clorissa Writes on Instagram and at TikTok. And you can find my book on Amazon. It's on KU. It's currently $1.99 if you want it as an ebook, as a little treat.
Nice. Mm.
And yeah, come find me there and hopefully maybe keep your eyes peeled for other exciting things that are happening
My
that are
goodness.
secret.
Secrets might be being revealed very soon, but
Yep.
it is, oh, it's just so inspiring to talk to you, Demi, because
Oh,
you
thank
are
you.
living the dream in so many ways,
Mm.
and you're
Yeah.
also honoring the fact that you've got such an opportunity to
Mm.
give writing your undivided attention, and you are
Yes.
grabbing that opportunity with both hands and going for it. It is so exciting
Yes.
to see. I know I follow
Yes.
you on social media, even though I'm on a bit of a, what do you call it? Like a social media cleanse, and putting like limits on my
Oh
on
my
my
God, I think
phone
I
to
need
like, yeah, I just, it's just easier that way. But when I do see updates, I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. So now that we've
that. Yes.
officially had a chat together, I feel very
Yes.
honored that I
Oh,
have known some wonderful things about you. And I'm
thank
so,
you.
so pleased and happy for you that you are in such a wonderful place with all of your writings. So
Yes.
thank you so, so much, Demi, for being on the show
Oh
today.
gosh. Thank you so much. I really loved chatting and I just feel so like loved. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for watching the Indie Author Life show. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you want to know more about my own literary journey or the journey of some of our guests that you might have seen on the show, please consider subscribing or following my Substack or my YouTube channel. Finally, if you want to know more about my novel, Still Waters Run Deep, it is available on many distribution websites such as Amazon, Etsy, Baventi, you name it. All that information will be in the show notes if you're interested in learning more about my story to do with elemental magic and coming of age. Take care, everyone, and see you in the next episode.